We're not done though. Like that. Woo! What's up, chat? Happy Friday, January 7th. 9 games. 9 of them. 9 games tonight. That's a lot of games. A lot more than last night. Last night, 4 games of, oh my God, my worst night of the year. Probably the worst night of my season. I cashed 2 lineups last night. But guys, I went nuts with the can't miss, undeniable Golden State Warriors chalk that missed. It was deniable, and it did not go the way of the road that I had in mind. I had so much Otto Porter, so much Gary Payton. Not what you want. A decent chunk of Bielisa, Iguodala. Not what you want. Jordan Poole. Not what you want. It was bad. But what are you going to do, man? Mama said there'd be slates like that. We are onward and upward. But if you guys had some shares of Jason Tatum last night, Evan Fournier. Somebody was in chat yesterday talking about Fournier against the Celtics being a thing. I didn't really get to it, but wish I did. I did get to a little bit of Tatum. Chris Paul, triple-double, 3rd highest scorer on the slate. Brandon Ingram, after a couple of slumpy games for fantasy, woke up with 55 and a quarter. Marcus Morris Sr., that one stings because I kind of strategically went the other way on him yesterday, and he ended up being a top 5 play on the entire slate. So what are you going to do? Yesterday, I just want to get rid of it, delete, and move onward to today. And today is a lot of opportunity to bounce back. And we got some COVID-induced headaches. We got a couple of studs being out. And nonetheless, we've got a job to do, right? We got to grind it. We got to uncover the gems. And that's what we're going to do the next hour or two. And hopefully you guys have already started a little bit of research. We'll try and uncover the best plays here. Talk. Okay, lost my voice there. Talk it out and hopefully game theory our way into some success, man. Shout out to the live chat. Justin Brooks, my girlfriend Danielle. Hello, moderator. How are you? You see me? Fish? You vouching for this? My goodness, it's got me. Chat. I keep getting slack that I don't acknowledge my girlfriend in chat while I'm live. So, bam. How's that for acknowledgement? What up, Josh? What up, Nate D, Skimmer, Caleb, J Smooth. What up, Jared Bell, Quan? Rich homie Quan, Tiz Gun. You hiding behind the curtain? Am I? Y'all can see me, right? Huh? I'm not hiding behind the curtain. What curtain? Had to put on a new starter in my vehicle today. 10-degree weather and snow. Caleb, man, oof. I feel for you. Starters are weird. I used to have a car that starter was going out, and the starter was like in the most impossible spot. And I'm not making this up. We do the thing where you tap it with a hammer and try to get the most life out of it, and it works a little bit. That car, finally, the hammer trick didn't work. I just left the car in the parking lot, and I haven't seen it since. This was like 15 years ago. I just left it. I was like, you know what? F it. I don't know why, but that reminded me of that car, cream-colored car out there in Huntsville, Texas. So if you guys ever got a hold of that car, congrats. What up, J. Cole? What a big dub. What up, Nate Birch? I said it yesterday in chat. Fournier only kills the Celtics. Yeah, I think you did. I definitely remember somebody said that a couple times yesterday. What up, Kegs? Live show only $39.99. What? Fournier for MVP. Worst side of my career types. Yeah, J. Cole, it is what it is. I ain't even tripping. You can't win them all, right? I've had a really successful season, really successful last month. Some nights you're just going to get complete tankers. And last night, I not only, did I tank, but everything I did, blew up on me. I ran just 25 lineups last night, 4-gamer. I mined 3 Warriors in every lineup. And there's a couple lineups where it was Wiggins, Iguodala, where didn't kill me. And I think those are the ones that got me. But it was I had so much Gary Payton, and he played no minutes. So much Jordan Poole on a Fanduel. He wasn't like that. He wasn't a play. On DK, I feel like he maybe didn't kill you. It was all bad. It was all bad. What are you gonna do? I had a couple of Cameron Johnson lineups that kind of saved me at the end there. They're gonna say hi to you yet? See? I'm gonna clip it, loop it, play it, loop it again. Stop it. What up, Crispy? Nothing but snow here. Where you at, Crispy? It is getting cold here. It's 44 now. At night, it's been dipping into 30 and 30 below. The other day, we were chilling on the couch all night, just watching TV, and Danny, before we go to bed, 6 a.m., she decides to go check the mail. And you just didn't realize that, oh, snap, it's cold now. She went out there and just got, winter is, hey, how you doing? Drop to the motor to get to the starter. Yeah, man, some starters are in weird spots. It was below, that car was below a crossbar, below the battery thing. And I'm not very car privy, so I just left that sucker out there. Oh, what are you gonna do? That would fit. Okay, chat. King Cantu. What did Gary Payton the second only played 14 minutes? I don't know. And Jordan Poole just wasn't making shots. I think offense came out stagnant, so they found some success with Damian Lee. He started hitting shots. Wiggins was doing his thing. So I don't know. I guess at the end they just sold out for offense. But yeah, Gary Payton's minutes certainly was not something I expected. But what are you gonna do? Coach speak. It'd be like that. What up, Arizona? Crushed it on FanDuel. I had Fournier, Tatum, and Lee all with no ownership. You're insane. Congrats, drama. That's huge. Crazy because my friend told me last minute to play the Italian guy from the Knicks. The Italian guy? Is he Italian? I always thought he was French. What up, Quinn? David Tamati out tonight. Man, there's a lot of outs tonight. And we're going to recap a couple of them. And then we're going to go game by game here. And I'm sure as we go, more and more cats will get scratched. So if you guys do see some news, I am solo today. So be sure to spam the chat. I'll try to keep my head on a swivel and do the best I can to acknowledge the news. But we're just going to do some basic research here, go game by game, try to pull away some of the better projected plays, try to figure out who benefits with who out, and go from there. The news of the day, I guess the most pertinent situation of the day for DFS is that the Utah Jazz, where we saw it at the end of yesterday's stream, Utah Jazz is decimated roster-wise going into that Raptors game. Basically, all starters are out, and they are piecing together a who's who of who's left, and it could get a little bit weird. So hopefully, we're able to figure that out, and if we're not, hopefully it won't break the slate too much, because this slate does have some fun spots to get to. And outside of that spot for the Jazz, some of the other, like Anthony Simons, some of the other spots have been priced up to where the slate could be competitive if that Utah situation wasn't happening. So we'll try and dice it up. Key news to watch via Underdog NBA. Shout out to Fan. As of 3 p.m. Eastern, Trae Young, questionable. Luka Doncic, doubtful. LeBron James, probable. Giannis Antetokounmpo, probable. John Collins, questionable. Bogdanovich, questionable. Hassan Whiteside, questionable. Jordan Clarkson, questionable. And then from earlier in the day, we learned that one, Jabari Parker's getting waived by the Celtics. We know that Trae Young, John Collins, Bogdanovich, Jalen Johnson all went through shoot-arounds, remain game-time decisions. Might expect them to be closer to in than out based on that information. However, Trae Young did go through shoot-around last game and ended up not playing, which him going through shoot-arounds why I had so much of him and had to late swap out of him. Montrezl Harrell did not go through shoot-around. He was in health and safety protocol, so the Wizards might be without him for yet another game. They do have Greg Monroe, I believe, so we'll keep an eye on that. Davis Bertans out. Rudy Gay did not go through shoot-around. Keep an eye on that situation. But Royce O'Neal, Jordan Clarkson, Hassan Whiteside did go through shoot-around. It's a whole thing. It is. It's just a whole thing. So we are going to do our best to at least get to a starting point on each game, and then we'll move on from there. This stream is brought to you by Miller Lite, but it's not. It's not. RunDFS.com. That's the place where we don't just play DFS. We run DFS. If you guys want to be part of the action, part of the crew, get on in here. Go to rundfs.com, click VIP memberships, a couple screenshots for you to peruse through. I need to add a couple more. But we got week passes, 2 week passes, month passes, and the year pass. Today is the last day to get into the year pass. And if you use promo code $50, 50BUCKS, you'll get another $50 off. And then after the 150 Fancy Cruncher voucher, if you redeem that, essentially comes to less than $40 a month. So incredible annual value. And I think one or two of you guys might have took advantage of that yesterday or the day before. Shout out to Perksis. He was the last one. So just another day for that. Today's probably the last day for that. Did I not hit the shoot around? I did it again. I did this yesterday, y'all. I had the shoot around screen instead of the breakdown screen. I'm all over the place. I need a producer. What up, Frank? Anybody in the chat good with cars? I gotta change the power steering pump tomorrow. Bro, you just rebuilding a car in the dead of winter, bro. I can't do it. My church did get rolled out. All right, cool. All right, let me go back to the right screen then. I don't know how that happened. Thoughts on Russell Beverly's out? D-Russ? I think all of the T-rolls would be playable. I don't necessarily know that I would instantly, trust in D'Angelo Russell. Still got some usage competition with Anthony Edwards and Cat, but obviously wouldn't be a bad thing for Beverly to be out. Not sure if you went over this yet, but what are you saying for the Nets versus Bucks games tonight? No Holiday, no Kyrie. I actually haven't gone over any game yet, Noah, but we're about to. It's a huge night, looking to crush again. I've been referring friends to your channel. Appreciate your help. Man, I appreciate that, Arizona. Yesterday, if you guys weren't here yesterday, it was short slate. Some of you guys might have missed it. We broke 2 records. The single season, or this season's concurrent viewership record. I believe we hit like 280 It was like 285, I think, 280 something. And then our like record, we ended up now at like 163, but live we hit 147. So I don't know if we're gonna topple those type of numbers. Friday afternoon airwaves get a little clogged. A lot of NFL streams out there, but if we do, those are the numbers to watch. Actually, I DM'd Danny with what it was. So our view record that we hit yesterday was 285. So you guys keep an eye on that. If we get over 285 concurrent, that'll be a new record for this season. And then if we get over 160 likes live, that'll be the next record. So we're all about setting records, Chad. We're trying to get more and more jerseys retired. We're just trying to set goals and beat them, man. So it's not just a me thing; it's an us thing. But let's talk about tonight. San Antonio Spurs at the Philadelphia 76ers. Project starting five for the Spurs: Dejante Murray, Bryn Forbes, Lonnie Walker, Keita Bates-Diop, and Jakob Poeltl. Am I not Poeltl enough for the Poeltl Club? Taking on Seth Curry, Furkan Korkmaz, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid. So, notable absences for the Spurs: Keldon Johnson, Dougie McBuckets, Devin Vassell, and Derek White. We pull up the injury news and notes on them just to get us all updated. I assume it's health and safety protocols. Derek White down. Yeah, all of those guys. Derek White, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, and Thad Young all down with health and safety protocols. So they just got Dejante Murray back, and on limited minutes was a top play on the last slate. So I imagine this is going to be a good spot to bode well for him. On the Sixers side, Danny Green's questionable. And if you guys saw, he had a Tony Snell game the other night, while Tyrese Maxey, Shake Milton are both still out. And in the previous two games, Seth Curry has actually kind of filled in as a guard instead of anything else. It's been Seth Curry and Furkan Korkmaz filling in as the guards here. So Seth Curry actually had a really strong game against, I believe, the Magic. So let's pull up that, look at the minute rotation in that one. The game was a little bit more competitive than anticipated, but 41 minutes for Seth Curry, 40 minutes for Furkan Korkmaz, and Joel Embiid got to 33 minutes. So the knack for the Sixers to play down to competition happened again. Even Tobias Harris got 43 minutes. So maybe we might expect deeper minutes on these Sixers players with these guys being out, and if this game stays competitive. With that said, 7.5 point spread kind of leaves the door open for a little bit of everything. If it does stay close, it's absolutely, unequivocally, I don't know if that's a word, got to be on the back of Dejante Murray. And Dejante Murray is 10.4K on Fanduel, 9.6K on DraftKings. Without Derek White, you know, is going to assume a lot of responsibility. And let's see if we can't put an actual number on his usage rate and his production. I'm not going to take everyone off, right? I just cared about Derek White for this split. So I'm going to take Derek White off, and I'm going to put Dejante and Jakob Poeltl on to kind of paint a picture here, because Dejante, I think, is one of those guys that have yet to gain household name status. People don't play him as confidently, and the more and more his price goes up, I think the less likely they are to play him. Dejante Murray, 136 minutes in this split, has a 24% usage rate, but 1.5 fantasy points per minute, and a lot of that is because he just does everything. A triple-double threat when he's on the court, and if we're going to give him an opportunity for deep minutes, I like his potential ceiling, and I like him to maybe go a little bit lower owned just because people don't seem to play him. So you definitely can jot down some Dejante Murray in my player pool. I'd probably start him as a tier 3 and see if we can't promote him from there, but I like his potential here quite a bit. Lonnie Walker should project well should he play. He does have a Q tag on my list here, but let's see if we can't thin that down to maybe closer to in or out. He cleared protocols. If his conditioning is up to par, the Spurs will need. All right, so it's a conditioning thing. So I would assume if Lonnie Walker can go, I would be interested in Keita Bates-Diop as well. These are two guys that I can plug in here for decent minutes, more than likely, in the shot volume and their ability to get me where I need to go stands out. It really does. If I can get 30 plus minutes of Lonnie Walker, Bates Diop, and here and there, I don't mind a Bryn Forbes look. This guy has some chemistry in the past, starting alongside Dejante Murray. I think I wouldn't want all of them in the same lineup, but I'd probably stagger them across my entries tonight. I think they all have a obtainable price point on DraftKings to where I don't need a whole lot of return on investment to get there, but I do think 30 plus fantasy points, or even just 30 fantasy points, is at least a range of outcome. Jakob Poeltl, I like in theory. I don't love picking on Embiid though, so I don't know that I prioritize him. But it's something that I wouldn't call you crazy for getting. I do think Jakob Poeltl can be a 7+ K center on any given slate, and I wouldn't argue with it. On the Sixer side, if we're gonna get those minutes out of Korkmaz and Curry, I think they are in the conversation. I don't think their game-to-game consistency is going to be something to hang your hat on. But I do think minutes equal money. And if I'm going to get to some Dejante Murray, I don't mind firing it back with a couple of these guards. Seth Curry last game, 42 minutes. The game prior, 30 minutes. Now, that 30-minute game, little lopsided. So somewhere in the middle, if you think this game can stay close enough to keep starters on the court, I think Seth Curry's interesting, and we saw him get 12 assists that last game, and I do like the thought of that raising his floor. We even saw some rebounds in that game. Now, the Magic are one of the worst defenses in the league, so everyone's going to overperform against their expectation, but it makes a lot of sense for Middleton and Maxey to be out to raise the potential floor and the potential ceiling for a guy like Seth, who we usually just lean on to score real points, but in this case, might be able to add some peripherals to our expectations. What does PrizePicks have for Seth Curry's assists here? They have him at 5 assists, so just 27.5 fantasy points. I had him at 33, so might be an early number to jot down, keep an eye on. Korkmaz is another guy I don't mind getting behind. I do think his price is a little bit more appropriate here. Had that huge game against Houston, 50 fantasy points, but Curtin called it with 30 fantasy points, 20 plus real points in both games, double-digit shot attempts. I don't mind putting him in the pool. I do think he is priced very, very appropriately, where 30 fantasy points is the bare bones made of what I'd take on a slate like this. So maybe Korkmaz has a more exploitable PrizePicks line. Corky Furky from Turkey. There is no Korkmaz on PrizePicks, so just giving us Tobias lines, Joel Embiid lines, and Seth Curry lines. All right. Tobias Harris, about 8K on both sides. I'm looking for 40 plus. Danny Green, I'm not interested in Danny Green, but I guess it would be noteworthy to mention that he did have a Q tag on him, so I guess I would at least owe it to you guys to read that out. Left calf tightness, questionable. If he can't go, Charlie Brown might start again. Maybe Gorgeous Niang gets some extra run here. He's pretty cheap. Thibault, I guess, is back. Thibault had been out the last couple games, so it might be a 1-to-1. Thibault's not somebody I would really get to for any offensive purposes, but he could soak up a lot of minutes. So maybe it's just a 1-to-1, Danny Green to Thibault, and I wouldn't have much interest in Thibault for tonight's slate if we're selling out for ceiling, you know. Chat, what do you guys got on this one before we matriculate on to the next one? Let me get Ted Cruz probably. Oh my god. What up, Mark K? Just built my first lineup. Really loving Harden and Durant price on DK. They're priced down because of Kyrie. Yeah, their next today and their next game is going to be at home, so we might see the site's algorithm suffer consistently based on road stretches and home stretches. What up, Jason Garnett? Craig L. What up, Craig? Happy Friday. Just play Giannis. I'm with that. Giannis came in as one of my highest projected fantasy scorers. Shocker. I know. I think he was the highest, though. Caleb says I spent $800 on it. I put alternator and oil pressure sensor on it. Man, Caleb, you got a fixer-upper on your hands, man. You need to win a tournament tonight. Get somebody else to do it for you. Just paid $5K to replace the collapsed sewer line, says Craig. Jesus. Collapsed sewer line? Bro, you must live out in the boonies, man. Can't just blame that on, like, the city and make them do it? That's crazy. It's crazy. Remember those were light numbers for you? Yeah, you remember Brooklyn back in the day? back in the day, man, that's what I tell Danny. She wasn't here for the glory days, but back in the day, we used to stream, the night before and would have 400, 500. We'd get 2,000 views on a video. So, we did plummet down. The market got a lot more saturated. There's so much great content out there. A lot of other guys, and while they were grinding videos every day, I couldn't do it. And now that I have an opportunity to get back in the game, it is nice to see the numbers come back up, right? What up, Cheech? 100% Brunson with no Doncic. I can get behind that, absolutely. If everyone was going with Giannis, I'd be going with KD for cheaper. I can get behind that. What up, Anthony? Did anyone else get a random text from a VIP host from DraftKings? Thought it was a scam at first. I think some of those texts, unless it's like a promotional offer, some of those texts are regional. Like if they have tickets to like I don't know, a local game in your area or region, maybe they'll reach out to you. What a Philly Shizzy. As a Sixers fans, I can guarantee it will stay close. Sixers just they don't step on people's throats, man. They did bring it to the Rockets though. Brunson, Smart, Clarkson, Forbes, Gay, Bates, Diop, Allen, James, Jokic. All those plays very much justifiable, Warrior. Let's move on to the next game. Nets hosting the Bucks. Project starting five for the Bucks. Javante Smart, maybe Wesley Matthews, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Bobby Portis, taking on James Harden, Patty Mills, David Duke, Kevin Durant, and Nicholas Claxton. I've seen that the Nets lineup isn't the most consistent thing, their starting lineup. We've seen stretches for DeAndre Bembry to start, Bruce Brown to start, LaMarcus Aldridge and Nick Claxton at center. So be flexible and fluid with them. I don't necessarily think anyone other than Harden or KD is going to be a big interest for me. Patty Mills is going backwards in price. That's a good thing. I don't know if he's quite where I need him to be, sharing the court with Harden and Durant. But as he starts creeping towards that 4K area again, I will be interested. Bucks and the Nets, two teams that are probably on a collision course to battle it out in maybe the Eastern Conference Finals. We know that Drew Holiday is out, George Hill's out, Dante DiVincenzo's out, Grayson Allen out, Pat Connaughton out. That's a lot of guards, a lot of ball handlers, and that's going to leave a couple of next man up, maybe even get Giannis Antetokounmpo as your point guard. We've seen him kind of play that role in the past. So, man, let's see what we can get out of that. We probably don't have sample size this season, so I guess let's just be realistic and expect Giannis to do a lot of ball handling. But on the other side here, Harden and KD on the court together, knowing that Kyrie's not in this game. We only have one game with Kyrie on the mix, but there was a big stretch there where only Harden was in and KD was out. So just to remind everyone what the coincidental usage and production was, almost 800 minutes this season of KD and Harden on the court together. 30% usage rate for Kevin Durant, 25% for James Harden, 1.3 fantasy point per minute essentially for both these guys on DraftKings. So absolutely, somebody in chat was already talking about playing them both. It's very justifiable, and on DraftKings, we've getting a discount, a reduction in price for both Harden and Durant. So I don't mind that thought process to put them both together and hope for 100 plus, but probably 120, 130 plus fantasy points. Makes a lot of sense. I got him baked in for a ton of minutes, and we've seen Harden in competitive games play 40 minutes no matter what. 40 minutes against Indiana, 32 minutes against Memphis. It was a blowout. Nash throwing the towel in the fourth quarter is what it is, but 40 minutes in every competitive game. So we expect them to play all the minutes that we can possibly squeeze out of them, and it's a statement game. It's the Bucks, it's the champs, Eastern Conference bragging rights for now. So I like looking at Harden. I like looking at Kevin Durant. But like I said, Giannis Antetokounmpo in my first run on projections came in as my highest projected fantasy scorer on the slate. So there's all the reason in the world to look at the king of the mountain, the king of the hill for a slate like this, a guy that projects the best. The thing with Giannis here is he is a little bit more expensive than the Harden, than the Kevin Durant, right? He's coming in at 11.4K. So about $1,000 increase in price versus Harden KD, and maybe it's worth going a little bit more balanced than him here. But should this game stay competitive, noting that there's no Drew Holiday and the like, him and Middleton could really pick up some usage and some responsibility to make this game close. Let's put on Middleton. Let's put on Giannis, and I guess I'm just gonna take off Drew. I don't know. I feel like if I take off all those other supplementary and tertiary guards, I'm just gonna over dilute sample size on minutes. And it's just not even gonna be worth noting. But just taking off Drew, right? No, just be cognitive that this sample size does include like George Hill, Grayson Allen. But just taking off Drew, looking at Middleton, Giannis this season, Giannis is 33% usage rate, 1.7 fantasy points per minute on both sites. That's nuts. That's just insane. So if you put that basic baseline projection 1.7 times 35 minutes, you're probably gonna get an insane number. What is did PrizePicks price a number on Giannis for fantasy? They got him at 60 and a half, and I got him at 65. So yeah, I think every projection model is gonna love Giannis Antetokounmpo in this split here. So if you can get Giannis, the slate's going to give us value. It's a big enough slate to get there. I think I don't mind, getting access to the slate's best play pre-flop. So give me some Giannis if we can get it. Bobby Portis is getting cheap on both sites, 57 on Fanduel, 65 on DraftKings. I'm getting a really strong projection back on him. Him being power forward eligible on Fanduel is nice. That last game, I believe he got into foul trouble, which really, really put me in a bad spot for that slate. 22 minutes, 6 fouls against Toronto. But if we expect him to not foul out in 22 minutes and get closer to 30 plus minutes, remember they did waive DeMarcus Cousins, who had to bail him out in this spot. I think Bobby Portis should be unleashed for 30 plus minutes. And like I said, the projections love him in this matchup. And then Chris Middleton, could Chris Middleton just be there? And after the fact, we're like, oh, Chris Middleton, no Drew Holidays, the Nets, that made a lot of sense. I don't mind putting him in the mix as well. 230 plus total. We don't see a lot of those this year, and now we have one. So I'm definitely interested in this game as much as I possibly can. Do you guys think, past the obvious 3 on the Bucks, it's worth exploring the thought of a Wesley Matthews, a Jordan, or somebody like that? Wesley Matthews is probably the cheapest versus my minute projection, meaning that, right, I put him down for 29-30 minutes, and he's $300 above min price. It is Nets guard defense. Like, is there a world where the veteran Wesley Matthews picks up, maybe a couple extra facilitation opportunities, and of course the shot attempts without Connaughton, Grayson Allen, guys like that? Maybe Wesley Matthews is out there for a long enough stretch that it'll make sense in retrospect for him to put up a decent game. Haven't really seen a ceiling on Wesley Matthews worth going out after, but put in context to the situation today, I feel like I wouldn't be stunned if he was a solid play. So maybe something I keep in the back of my mind for big field tournaments, right? 100K to first type of click here. But I like this game quite a bit. But it's the focal point for me is going to be the studs. But I think I get to Bobby Portis pretty aggressively on FanDuel. And then Middleton is right on the cusp of comfort. 8K, I need that 40 plus, and that's about the projection I'm getting. And 40 plus really isn't that exciting to me in tournaments on a bigger slate like this. So what are you gonna do? Let's get caught up on chat before we move on. Craig says, I wish gun on my property 10 feet short of city, Chicago area responsibility. Dang, man, that's how they get you. I had an issue similar to that in the last city I lived in, where the pipes kept backing up into the yards, and it wasn't just a my yard thing. And tell the city, and the city was like, it looks like that's 2 feet under the property line, so you gotta fix it. And it was like, really, the whole street's doing this, and it's just happening. They kind of okey doke, but if you don't want your grass smelling like sewer, man, you gotta do what you gotta do. All I can say is, when it comes to that crap, don't get cheap the first time, because you run it, yeah, don't get cheap the first time. We did, and then after a year, we just had to do it again. No Drew defense, so who can even slow down Harden and KD? Just that a beast. Yeah, I think this should be a shootout. So I like the potential upside of this game. I do wonder if the slate will give us enough value to maybe grab 2 pieces confidently from this game. Like I said, Giannis is going to cost us. I think FanDuel might be a little bit easier to kind of squeeze them in there. I like to pay up for one spot, pay down in the B spot, like point guard 1, point guard 2, so on and so forth. DraftKings might make it a little tougher, just a little bit. Nwora, you like some Nwora? I don't mind some Nwora myself. I got him for the most minutes on the team right now. I think I'm going to stabilize that a little bit. The price point's okay. I'm looking for 30 plus. That's about what I expect. So I definitely don't mind that. Horse, chicken, cow, sheep, goat. What am I missing? So move on to the next game. Raptors hosting the Utah Jazz. Project starting 5 for the Jazz. Maybe Jordan Clarkson, Trent Forest, Royce O'Neal, Rudy Gay, and Hassan Whiteside taking on Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, and Pascal Siakam. A 221.5 total, 11.5 point spread. Guys, if you notice, a lot more totals are over 220 now. When we start the season, it wasn't that common, and they made a lot of foul rule changes, and it seems like we're getting a little closer to last year's style. Even like I'm looking at free throws going up for some of these players that it just wasn't there to begin the season. So I don't know, maybe the players are adapted or the referees have kind of backslid or the NBA prefers higher scoring. I don't know. It just seems like I'm seeing a lot more 220 totals lately than I had at the beginning of the year. Anyway, Utah Jazz are without everyone. All their starters, Bogdanovich, Mike Conley, Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell out. That's all just like big news. Royce O'Neal could play. He's not really a high usage starter. We did see a solid game out of him against Denver that last outing. So everything we know about the Jazz, really, we don't know here, right? We know when they're at full strength, they're one of the league's best offenses, solid defense. We just, in this case, throw that all out the window, and we're just looking at minutes. Minutes equal money in DFS, and who is going to play the minutes here. And those minutes are even more so lucrative because of the price points attached to most of these guys. Jordan Clarkson, I think, is the linchpin to keep an eye on here. He's dealing with a personal issue, it sounds like. And they're not in the country, so I just wonder what it was. Oh, no, it wasn't personal. I thought I read somebody had personal. It says lower back tightness is questionable. Royce O'Neal, right patellar tendonitis is questionable. Rudy Gay, was it Rudy Gay? Right heel injury management. I swear I just read off somebody with a personal. Maybe it was a different game. And then Whiteside went to shoot around today. He went to shoot around last slate and ended up being ruled out. He's been in concussion protocols for the last couple games, but it looks like he's closer to end than anything here. So 3,500 for Whiteside on DraftKings would be borderline must-play territory. Earlier this year, we saw Montrezl Harrell, Andre Drummond, guys like that, where even if the matchup doesn't even feel that good, you just seem like there's too many minutes to play here where spread be darned. You just got to go out there and get them. And I think the price difference between Fanduel and DraftKings kind of puts you in a spot where on Fanduel, 5-3, there's an outcome for 25 fantasy points to not be what you want. Even though I think he easily exceeds that. But on DraftKings, they make the decision for you. If he's active, ready to go, and you have anything above 20 minutes, that's the expectation. I probably expect 30 minutes. You just got to play that. It's like preload your lineup. When you click DraftKings enter contest, you open your page, it should probably just look like this, assuming Whiteside does play. So if that is the case, Whiteside is just, you just got to play him on DraftKings. I got him for about 40 fantasy points on both sites. Yeah. If Rudy Gay can't go or if Jordan Clarkson can't go, I mean, we're just playing names that I don't have a lot of sample size on. So we're just kind of playing the name game at that point. If Clarkson can go, we know that this guy is a scorer, right? We know that he can be a solid fantasy play. 5,500 definitely has 40 plus fantasy point upside in the split with no Conley, no Donovan Mitchell. Wouldn't shock me if he thrived here. I think we would expect decent ownership on the Clarkson, on a couple of these Utah players. Should we get more definitive news between now and lock, clearing up the situation on who's in and who's out. If the game did start getting lopsided, though, and we have an 11.5 point spread, I definitely could see Snyder benching Clarkson, saving him for the next one. He seems like, he's part of the plan, right? Some of these other guys, though, the Jared Butlers, the Norvel Pell, these 10-day signings, stuff like that, those guys would be mop-up. So I don't know that I believe Clarkson is blowout proof. And if that is a range of outcome here, and potentially his ownership becomes too high. That might be something to keep an eye on and maybe game theory a decision on. But if the team were to go full strength here and this game stayed quasi-competitive in an empty gym, Jordan Clarkson, Rudy Gay, Hassan Whiteside, or at least NBA caliber players that we know could play a role here and accrue some fantasy points. So I slapped about 30 minutes on all of them for the algorithm to spit back a couple soft projections, tweaking the usage rates too. Jordan Clarkson leading the team in usage. I got 40 plus fantasy points for Clarkson. I got 34 fantasy points for Rudy Gay on Fanduel, almost 34 on DraftKings, and about 40 on both sides. So those would be my three favorite clicks from the Utah Jazz. But as long as they got Q tags next to their name, and as long as Snyder's the coach and the game could get away, I wouldn't feel as warm and fuzzy as maybe the field would on these plays. On the other side, Toronto Raptors, this is another team that a couple weeks ago they were very unhealthy, and now they're healthy. And now that they're healthy, we're seeing a lot of big minute games from the starting five. Fred VanVleet, Siakam, both guys pushing 40 minutes in close games. Scotty Barnes back in the cut. OG Anunoby, also a guy that I think we can get to. The pricing, I think, is probably the best today on Fanduel. Scotty Barnes is $1,400 cheaper on Fanduel than DK. A little bit more known right now for his defense, a steal per game and a block per game. So that might add a little bit more value, a little bit more lucrativity to his Fanduel price point versus his near 8K DraftKings counterpart. I mean, that's right there. That's like Chris Middleton levels, right? $200 away from Chris Middleton. So seems like Scotty Barnes, if I get to him tonight, it would be more so on Fanduel. And OG Anunoby, same thing, man. I play OG Anunoby for stocks, although this year he is averaging almost 20 points a game. I also feel like he's usually typically stronger on Fanduel than anything. But depending on your thoughts on this game, I think you can justify getting to some Raptors because of how many minutes they could play in a competitive game. If you don't think it's competitive, maybe we shave off a couple minutes on all these projections and everyone's expendable and we just kind of go elsewhere. But for the most part, I completely understand if you want to get to any of these cats. I don't know how much meat's left on the bone individually price-wise, though. Fred VanVleet, 50, 9K, would take it. Same with Siakam. I think I'm looking more so for the guys in the middle that might have a little bit of meat on the bone, right? Let's get caught up on chat before we move on to the next one. What up, Big Bino? Almost missed you. What's good? Dacker of the gun. Let's go. That's a new one. Craig says Matthews may not get ceiling, but it is what allows for the rest of the lineup. I don't mind that. Kevin Durant career versus Giannis in 14 games, 26.5 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Ooh. Let's go to StatMuse on that one, Mark. What's that mean for fantasy? My computer lagging. There we go. DKP by game log versus Giannis Antetokounmpo last 10 games. $58, $72, $49, $100. He's got $100 Ruski on Milwaukee in 2021. That looks like a playoff game. 49 real points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists. Oof. A lot of 50 bombs in here. He's really cheap. Matter of fact, if you round to 50 here, he hasn't got you less than 50 against the Bucks in his last 10 games. So that's a good call out, Mark. I like that. Seth Curry's been having big games. Yeah, Seth Curry has a lot of opportunity here without any point guards, right? What's good, Gun? How do you feel about Noel as value with Beverly at questionable? What's up, Travis? Jalen Noel? I don't think Jalen Noel is going to be as valuable as he was a couple weeks ago when there was more outs. Don't they still have like Jordan McLaughlin and Malik Beasley and yeah. I don't think it would be anything extra spicy to go after. If that's like a season-long click, sure, but I think in DFS would probably feel a little bit better elsewhere. It is the Thunder, so I wouldn't point and laugh at you, but I don't think it's like as strong of a click as maybe some of these other 4K players might get to being here. F the game was playing in Utah. I don't really know if I would even play tonight, as news probably would not have happened before lock. Yeah, I guess that is a benefit here. Only 30 minutes after lock. Utah Jazz, usually Western slates, right? I like when people say they don't play players. Everyone said the same about Fournier yesterday. Good for me. Don't. Yeah, it's fine, but like I also understand some players you just have bad luck with. I read a stat yesterday that said Fournier scored 20% of his points this season against the Celtics. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and it's hard to literally quantify narratives or just like I don't know BVP, DVP. You know what I'm saying? So like I understand why people would be skittish in yesterday's spot for Fournier. So it ain't no hate. Everyone has their own process. Important question. I need your help, bro. Boom, boom, boom. I think I got you. Keith said the way Clarkson has been shooting, we'll need 50 shots out of him. You might get him with Jordan Clarkson. I'll tell you that. What up, hey Doranzo? ¿Qué pasó? I wonder how many noobs Googled Fournier today. I haven't Googled Fournier in a long time, but the word on the street is it's a little less dangerous than it once was. So, yeah. Decent night. Toronto's running all their starters at 30 plus minutes. Do roster that or not? I think you could. I think I would drive a wedge between like some overlap between the spikes that I need, like Fred VanVleet and Siakam. Again, remember we're selling up for ceiling on these larger slates, so 9K I gotta walk away with 50. I didn't get like massive projections back on VanVleet or Siakam, but I do concede that 50 plus fantasy points is there. And Whiteside is not the defender that Gobert is, not even close. He's actually probably one of the worst defenders, right? He's a rim protector and that's it. So maybe some of the projection models and algorithms, especially mine, like it's a little harder to compensate for one of the best defensive centers in the league, probably the best, versus a backup less than average defender. So yeah, there could be some upside for Siakam, and then we talked about Clarkson will probably chuck, so it could be a lot more rebounds to be had. So I definitely think it's worth getting to some Raptors, but we will be wrestling with this double-digit point spread. With this being a complete punt game for the Jazz, Snyder could just put out a bunch of mop-up duty guys early and just call it a day. So I do think this game's a little bit more volatile, especially on the Jazz side, even if we start getting some guys playing that right now have Q tags on them. What up, Sean? What up, Plan B? Before last night, his name was Fournier. Fournier. I don't know. Is that a bar? I don't get it. Whiteside should crush on rebounds and blocks. Yeah, Raptors actually do allow an above average amount of blocks per game. A lot of size in that front court, but it means a lot more shots near the rim. Raptors are top 10 in blocks per game allowed, 5.4. So it's not that crazy. But Whiteside's just naturally going to get blocks just being a Hassan Whiteside. So I think not knocking his defense is fine, but just as a play, he's just too good of a play at 3,500 to ignore. So we'll move on to the next game here. Wizards at the Chicago Bulls. Project 25 for the Wizards. Spencer Dinwiddie, Bradley Beal, Kentavious Caldwell Pope, Kyle Kuzma, and Daniel Gafford. Revenge. Looking for revenge. Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, Derek Jones Jr., DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic. We got a 225.5 total. 6-point spread in favor of the home team, Chicago Bulls. Caruso still down. Javonte Green, Patrick Williams could be gone for a minute. But they got Lonzo Ball back in the mix a game or two ago. Kobe White relegated to the bench. So a little bit more depth for the Chicago Bulls after a big stretch of no guards. And then the Wizards have been playing without Spencer Dinwiddie for a couple games. He's back in the cut. So 10 plus K Bradley Beal might take a step backwards, and 8K Kyle Kuzma might take a step backwards. And then Daniel Gafford, who had gotten a bunch of run that coincided with the absence of Montrezl Harrell and Anthony Gill, maybe his depth in minutes gets a little bit more shallow today as well. Is Greg Monroe available like today? Because Monroe had played some minutes for the T-Wolves not too many, not but a week or two ago. So the vendor wasn't. Oh, he was not eligible to sign until it expired. Though Minnesota didn't have need Monroe, so he did sign a 10-day with the con. Okay, so is today? Is he? I think he's eligible today. So maybe a little sneaky depth behind Gafford that wouldn't lock him into his minutes. And then Montrezl Harrell did not go through shoot around. He's been out for health and safety protocols. If Montrezl is out, I still think we can lean on Gafford for being an okay play here. But I do think we saw pricing maybe become inefficient versus the spot today, because not only was Dinwiddie out to kind of stagger the usage, not only was Gill and Montrezl Harrell out to up some price points for Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell and Davis Bertans, but they also ran into like a stretch of really good matchups, right? The Houston Rockets, Charlotte Hornets. I mean, it really doesn't get much better than those two matchups. So we might have an overcorrection in price points, and then you add Spencer Dinwiddie back in the mix. We might be able to feel a little less enamored here. Bradley Beal, if he spiked here, I wouldn't be stunned. But just for the sake of thinking out loud, let's put Dinwiddie on the court, and let's put Beal and Kuzma. Let's just put those guys on the court together. I'm not going to take anyone off. So Beal goes down to less than a point per minute. Dinwiddie's at 0.8. Kuzma's is less than 0.9. And I also say that last game had some chaos, right? Bradley Beal fouled out early. Davis Bertans, down, and we got 44 minutes of Kyle Kuzma, who was not shooting particularly well, and that kind of bailed him out. It also gave KCP a big game, so there's a lot of complete chaos in that game that we really can't bring forward with us. But nonetheless, we're not getting big numbers out of the Wizards here when they're all together. Gafford actually leads the team in points per minute. You expect that out of your center. But usage-wise, Bradley Beal, 29%, but less than a fantasy point per minute. And to kind of cross-reference that, when we take Dinwiddie off the court and leave the pressure on Beal and Kuzma, Beal goes to 1.2 fantasy points. So he loses almost a third fantasy point per minute in that split with Dinwiddie back. Kuzma's under one. So I think the logistical approach here is that we just expect the Wizards to be inefficiently priced. Or I don't say inefficiently, but overcorrected from the last two games. And I probably stay away here, although I would probably say you could still justify some Gafford exposure, because the Bulls front court has been exploitable. And also, power forwards against the Bulls have been good, but can we get to 8K Kyle Kuzma with confidence? Probably not. So I'm probably gonna step away from the Wizards and hope it doesn't crush me at these price points. On the Bulls side, Lonzo Ball, 8K on Fanduel, 73 on DK. DeRozan's about 9K on both sides. Same with Vucevic. I think Levine as well. Levine has probably the most exploitable opportunity, I think, looking at his Fanduel price point versus DraftKings. It's a $1,600 difference in price. So maybe Levine's a guy that's, if you get 40 to 45 fantasy points, that's better on Fanduel than it will be at almost 10K on DraftKings. So maybe we introduce Levine into the Fanduel player pool, and we could live without him on DraftKings. But I don't have a strong lean altogether. Usually I'll concede that Bulls can thrive game to game, but I'll usually drive a wedge between them. Usually I don't want more than two of the big three in a lineup, and that's probably the main role I'll honor here today. But on these DraftKings price points, it wouldn't stun me if I settled on not more than one of these guys, because I think they could, if the median range of outcome is they all just get 40 fantasy points, and that's what the projections call for, then none of them are going to be optimal. But I do think we tilt the seesaw here and there. There's spike games for Levine, spike games for DeRozan, so is what it is. Let's maybe just, since we did the wowie on Washington, let's do the same thing for Chicago, and let's put Levine, DeRozan. Really, let's put the whole starting five of the line on the court together. Lonzo and Vucevic. See what we might expect. Right about a fantasy point per minute, a little bit more for a couple spots, Zach LaVine, DeRozan. So nothing staggering. Usage rates land on LaVine and DeRozan. It makes sense. Those are the two scorers, both guys averaging over 26 real points a game on the season. So I think those would be the two I'd be most inclined to get to. Center might give us some value tonight or some extreme upside. Giannis is center eligible on DraftKings. Jokic is also on the slate. So I don't know. I guess Vooch at 9K can probably be expendable. Do you guys disagree? Do you guys feel like I'm too low on the Bulls? I think just letting the numbers tell the story. I think that they're just priced to where I just don't feel like I'm getting a slam dunk deal individually. On FanDuel, I think I get to a little bit more Levine just by happenstance. Let's get caught up on chat before we move on to the next one. Playing Trae Young and util if he's out. Hello, Westbrook. Mark, I think that's a great approach. Really solid use of the util spot. I hope Trae Young does play because that game could be a lot of fun. Hollywood, what up, Hollywood? Eric Pascal. Yeah, Pascal should get minutes. They got Azubike. Like, we're getting into like dumpster diving on guys that if it gets to that point, like if it's not just Whiteside and we start dabbling with Pascal and Azubike and guys like that, then I will probably just try and play the rest of the slate. But I'll take the Clarksons, the Rudy Gays, the Hassan Whiteside if I can feel confident that they're gonna, one, play, and two, play normal minutes. And I don't know that I'll ever feel confident about that second option because of the spread and because of this being a potential super punt game. Kuzma crushed the Bulls last game. He had like 50 fantasy points. He did, and like I said, power forwards against the Wizards have been a good spot. DeRozan's not really set up to prevent a lot of big games from opposing teams. So like if you believe in Kuzma, like go for it. I don't know that the situation today is super plus for Kuzma in terms of projecting him to be anything special. Kyle Kuzma, DKP by game log. Let's go versus Bulls. Let's go last 5 games. And let's do some context on what happened in that Bulls game on January 1. First of all, that was a game where there was no Spencer Dinwiddie, and we already did the math on that. Everyone takes a step backwards with Dinwiddie. It just flattens things a little bit more. He did play 40 minutes in that game. I guess that wouldn't be crazy minutes today with Davis Bertans being down. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think I expect the same type of production out of Kuzma there. But yes, he did just drop 50, and yes, the Bulls have allowed strong games to power forwards. But I'm probably gonna not force that here today. But I wouldn't fault you if you acted on that. I just think the math is telling me to get elsewhere just based on what we ran with and without Dinwiddie. Right. I'll be honest with you guys, I've been losing, but I've always optimistic because all it takes one line to change your life. Mark, I feel that. I was saying Trent Forest, what's your thoughts on that Utah game? For me it's if I can get Jordan Clarkson, Rudy Gay, and Hassan Whiteside and feel confident that we'll probably get 30 minutes out of them, I'd play them because I do think they're super cheap considering the opportunity before them. The spread being double digits, leans to a potential blowout. The situation for the team is a mess. All those guys are possibly not at 100%. I think Whiteside, as long as he's cleared from concussion protocol, I think he would be all right. But the other guys, if they're dealing with ailments and whatnot, like I wouldn't have a whole lot of confidence in them not just full punting that game. But I guess like minutes equal money, and you can make money off of the unknown. So if Trent Forest is a guy at, a couple hundred above min price on DraftKings that falls into 30, 35 minutes, we've seen that several times this season where who's that is the nuts, right? So if you think Trent Forest could fall in that position, I probably want a Clarkson to be out in that scenario to lean on that. I don't think that's crazy. Do we have any Trent Forest G League or Summer League? I don't know. Could maybe get like a archetype or some competitive DNA to go off of, but even then it's dangerous to go off of G League information for a player. Trent Forest this season in the G League. No, I just got majors on this one. Major G League. Yeah, I don't have nothing this season, so I don't have a strong lean on him. But if he landed into a 35-minute projection at near mid price, that's fine for a stocking stuffer. It could definitely be the nuts at the end of the day. But do you roster Kuzma with everyone back at the cost? I don't. Probably don't. Not at 8K. I feel like the more median outcome on a good day is probably 40. So when Kuzma gets back to 6K, then I'd be interested in this spot. I just think that we're paying inflated prices on the Wizards because they just came off a stretch without Dinwiddie against two of the best matchups you could ask for fantasy, right? The Charlotte Hornets, the Houston Rockets. I think Lonzo led. Matter of fact, going back to that game, Chicago, Lonzo was out that game, and Lonzo is a good piece to strengthen that defense a little bit more, right? So I don't know. I just think everything's a worse spot today for the Wizards than it was the last two games, and it's I don't even think it's a lateral versus the last Chicago game. I think Lonzo does pick up some I don't know, some of the scoring suppression here. So what are you gonna do? Harrell isn't playing. Yeah, we know. Major bounce back from Gafford. I don't know if it's gonna be a major bounce back. I think that would come down to it. Anybody got a status on Greg Monroe? Like, I don't think you can forget that Greg Monroe could potentially play because the last time Gafford had a backup, Anthony Gill, they went with Anthony Gill in the fourth quarter. So I don't feel as confident in him getting a huge minute boost. Maybe it will be closer to 30, but I would say, like, don't forget Greg Monroe can play. He's already shown us a week ago that he could put in minutes at an NBA level. And against Chicago, that other game, 20 minutes. Chicago also, you can get away with playing small against Chicago since they don't have a true power forward. So you might even get some wonkier lineups. How did that rotation look in that last Chicago game? Washington. Looking at Gafford. So we have some Tremont Waters and Anthony Gill. Anthony Gill was the reason why Gafford didn't get big run in that game. Gafford just 20 minutes, Anthony Gill 24. So Gill's out, but I'm just saying, like, until I know for sure what's the situation on Greg Monroe, like, I don't think it's a lock that Gafford has 35 minutes in front of him today. Any PGA lineups? I didn't get any PGA lineups today, but I do want to start getting into PGA. My boy Luke, if you guys haven't seen him on this channel, we put a couple of NBA videos up this week, more coming in the coming weeks. He also does some really sharp PGA content. If you guys are in the RunDFS.com Discord, we added that golf channel. He's been kind of sharing some insight there, and he's also been doing videos on his channel. So check him out, GS Luke DFS. So I'm gonna kind of lean on him if I try and get into the PGA streets. There's definitely a lot of money in PGA that it's worth learning. I also saw yesterday the Daytona 500 launching a Millie Maker, but it's very, very top heavy, as all Millie Makers are. What up, Lorenzo? What up, Douglas? I'm locking in Gay and Whiteside, assuming they play and building from there. I think that's fine, Douglas. I don't see any, especially on DraftKings. Like, Hassan Whiteside would just literally be a free square, right? Like, it's hard to not just do that. Everyone hates Chris. Thoughts on Christian Wood versus Chris Middleton? I'm playing a single entry. I haven't hit the Rockets game yet. I'm gonna hit that next. So if you want to give me a second, I have him about the same projection, if I recall right. Looking at Christian Wood, I got him at 44 Fanduel, 42 DKP, and on Middleton I have him at 43, 40. So it's essentially the same projection with a margin of difference, being plus minus 1-2 fantasy points. So I think the total and the pace will probably be on the Middleton side, and the potential opportunity. Because let's be honest, Giannis can get in foul trouble. Not saying that will pipe his minutes at the end, but it wouldn't be crazy to get 2 quick fouls from Giannis, and then Middleton's got to immediately step in and show up, show out. So I probably land Middleton in that 1v1. But I have right now the math projection is pretty similar on the both, but I probably lean Middleton if I had to choose. What a just I appreciate the sub. Everyone hates Chris. I will be on Osmo tomorrow morning though. So I just do the weekday stuff here. Would you save 2K elsewhere by using Hardaway over Brunson? Doesn't seem like a huge gap in fantasy points. Let's talk about that game, and I'll try and address that. Sean says Gafford has played at least 32 minutes in 3 of the last 5 games. Yeah, 2 of those games are without Anthony Gill and without having a backup center, which is why I'm saying today, if Greg Monroe is active, just don't don't feel super confident in. I don't know. I'm just saying the path to Gafford not being a lock for 35 minutes today is there, just because of what they've added. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying don't play Gafford, but put in context of the situation, when they had a backup for him, Anthony Gill, they were using Anthony Gill. They have a backup for him in Greg Monroe today. Possibly. I need to verify that, but and it's a potential small ball game, right? So just saying. Gun Daytona pick people in the back, leave money. Yeah, I used to cover NASCAR pretty in depth. A lot of people maybe don't remember that. But I was in the NASCAR streets when it first came into the lobbies. It was a little bit different back then. We didn't have stage racing. We had a little bit more time between qualifying and the race. So once they added stage racing and now sometimes you got qualifying before the race, stuff like that. Like, it's hard to serve that content wise, and then it just I haven't been able to keep tabs on it like I once was. But I know the restrictor plate tracks like Talladega, Daytona, stuff like that. Yeah, generally you want to stack the back. Yeah, wait for the big one and hope for the best, right? It gets chaotic. But that I'm glad that NASCAR has a millie maker, so maybe it'll beef up the DFS ecosystem for NASCAR. So once NFL's gone, people keep playing. Hopefully, but that's a very variant sport. James Harden locked for 70 on DK or nah? I don't have him for 70. Right now I got KD for a little bit more, but I think they're both really strong plays. Gay didn't participate in shoot around. Does that mean he's out? It doesn't mean he's out yet, but he could be out. Guys that are like questionable and don't go through shoot around, I definitely have my doubts about. But they might need him to be active. So we might be playing that game where guys might be active just to get a game in, and maybe don't touch the court, right? What up, Lewis? Yeah. Who do you have projected to score the most points today, and would you build around them on DraftKings? Today I have Giannis Antetokounmpo as the top scorer. No guards here. Only 2 points above LeBron, 2 points above Jokic. So I do think, you do a margin of difference, margin of error, plus minus 5 fantasy points. I think any one of these top 3 guys is very valuable as a linchpin to your lineups. The 11, 12K price point typically makes it a little harder to build around, but a bigger slate might give us a little bit more value to make it easier. But there's plenty of ways to build lineups on this slate. You can go super balanced. And if you're on DraftKings, you're probably going to start a lineup with Hassan Whiteside, and that's already going to unlock a little bit of extra salary to get to one of those top guys. But yeah, I don't mind building around Giannis Antetokounmpo in a 230 plus total with no true point guards, right? I expect him to play a lot of point guard. Any prize picks? We'll look at a little bit more prize picks in just a second, 2K. But chat, if you guys already have some prize picks plays, keep them in your pocket. In a minute when we visit prize picks again, we'll maybe share some ideas and have some cards set up. Might enter the $88 contest. What's payout for first? Got to check it out. I'm not sure yet. DeRozan over 26.5. So 26.5 is what he averages on the year. I usually when lines are a player's average, it's just kind of not fun. What up, Owen? How do you determine a player's upside ceiling? So the easiest way to determine a player's upside and ceiling is really just look at the history of a player. I don't know, we just looked at Kevin Durant, right? He has a ceiling of 100 against the Bucks, but generally, like, you could probably put a ceiling of 70 on him, a floor of 40, something like that. Like, what's the lowest average that they'll give you, the highest average? So that's kind of how you determine it, and then you put in context of minutes played today, matchup played today, usage today. It's a process to it, but I think that the simplest form to do it, it's just like, I don't know, let's click a random name, maybe a little bit I don't know who's in a weird spot. Capella. Let's go Capella here against the Lakers. just looking at his game log. So there's a couple 38s in here. So you look at the last 10 games, there's a 32, 37. So if I'm being, take out the best game, take out the worst game, let's give him a floor of 34. Give him a ceiling of 60. So that would be an easy way to go floor ceiling. So, and then you think about the percentile outcome that those two are. How often is he hitting ceiling? How often is he hitting floor? So simple it down, but you can definitely complicate that and make it a little bit more sharp. But for the most part, that's the quick answer, right? One thing about the Utah games, it won't be postponed unless another player tests positive because most of the roster's out from just injuries. Yeah, and I from the feel of it, I think Utah just is okay with punting that game, right? Taking that L, moving on, don't have to worry about going back to Canada to make that one up, and just whatever happens, Utah can afford a loss if it means that. What are you gonna do? But it also means that they could just put guys on the active list and not put them in the game, right? Mavericks at the Rockets. Next game on the docket. Project starting five for the Mavs. Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith, Maxi Kleber, Dwight Powell taking on Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, Eric Gordon, Jayshawn Tate, Christian Wood. 214.5 total, 2.5 point spread in favor of the Dallas Mavericks. So Porzingis down, and I believe we have Doncic doubtful. Let me get you the 411 on that, and what that's going to do is create a huge opportunity for these Mavericks players to benefit from an incredible matchup going on I-45 South. Doncic right ankle sprain, doubtful for this matchup. So Jalen Brunson is $5,300 on Fanduel. If I was running just 25 lineups tonight, I really think there's a chance Jalen Brunson is in every one of those lineups at 5,300. The matchup is just too pure without Doncic. So let's paint a picture here. Let's go to the Mavs. Run an on-off court tool via NBA Wowie exclamation point AMF in chat. If you guys don't use this tool, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's a really easy way to kind of predict, project, and revisit how a player has performed in certain splits. You guys somebody just asked about floor and ceiling and projecting, today's outcome. I think this is one of the ways you could kind of accomplish that with a little bit more context and a little bit more sophistication, I guess would be the word. Doncic, Porzingis off, Brunson on. We get a 369-minute sample size from this season of this split, and Jalen Brunson has a 28% usage rate, 1.07 fantasy points per minute. Tim Hardaway Jr., 148 minutes alongside Brunson with this split, a 31% usage rate, 1.25 essentially on both sides. So both those names stand out above the rest, and both these guys are really, really affordable considering the matchup. Kind of a low total for a Rockets game, but yeah, give me both Brunson and Hardaway. And then also considering the matchup, the Rockets just generally are a bad team in really every category. They have the second worst defensive efficiency in all of basketball. And when we start looking at like defensive rebound numbers and stuff like that, Houston is bottom 10, bottom 6 in basketball. Offensive rebound rate, Houston is closer to league average, but they rebound poorly. And also, more than any other team, I think combined, you consider blocks allowed and steals allowed, Houston allows the third most blocks allowed per game, and they allow the most steals per game allowed by almost 1. So a lot of stock potential for your defensive-minded guys. So you could even make a case for guys like Kleber, who already average a block per game, half a steal per game. DFS, Tim Hardaway Jr. averaging a steal per game, kind of raising that FanDuel floor. So a really good spot for all of the Mavericks here to fill a role here in the absence of Luka and Porzingis. So I do like the Mavs quite a bit. On the Rockets side, KPJ, Christian Wood, we had some pessimistic skepticism. Jesus, why did that one struggle me? About what they might do in their first game back from suspension. But we saw solid minutes on both of them, right? Christian Wood got to 33 minutes. KPJ got 35 minutes, 30 plus minutes for all of the starters. So if you expect more of the same going forward into this game, maybe you can play KPJ with a little bit more confidence. 6,300 on DraftKings feels like the better click than Fanduel. KPJ is one of the catalysts in, the steals per game allowed. So you get taxed for that, a little less on DK. A little bit more bonus for like the threes and whatnot. And Christian Wood, kind of the same song and dance. I need 40 plus from Christian Wood. I need 30 plus, probably 35 plus to 40 from KPJ. No one's getting an extremely strong projection when I consider the pace that the Mavericks are going to bring and the total here. But I think you can justify many of them individually. But for the most part, I'm a little bit more enamored by the Mav side here. But I do think KPJ and Christian Wood have a little bit of potential at their price point, even if it's a little bit more heightened. We were paying 8K for Christian Wood pretty confidently a couple weeks ago, so I'm not going to allow 7K to spook me. And as long as the minute's going to be there and opportunity should be there, I'm fine with some Christian Wood exposure. 22 real points in that Wizards game. Wizards matchup, still a plus matchup for most active bigs. And, we talked floor ceiling just a minute ago. His floor could be mid-30s to kind of tank a little bit more. And Jayshawn Tate's, kind of in the mix to take away some of the potential day-to-day ceiling. But I still think he's liable to pay off this price point at a good clip. So 7,500 on FanDuel, 71 on DK, especially being power forward eligible on FanDuel. I definitely wouldn't have no Christian Wood. I'd probably start him as a tier 3 and go from there. But a lot of my interest is on the Mavs side just because of how soft of a matchup we have with the Rockets. What are you guys doing with this one? High levels of interest or not? On Chris Brunson to 80% owned on FanDuel. It's click it or ticket, right? Like all or nothing for me. And for me, I think it's all. I just think on FanDuel, it makes too much sense against the Rockets to not get the 5,300 Brunson. If I'm being real, I would probably consider an AK Brunson here against the Rockets in this split. So 5K, yes. You know what I'm saying? Give me a 35-40% discount on what I would pay. Sean V says Clayball bounce back. I think the matchup with the peripheral potential here would make him justifiable. Do I think he's anything like crazy in terms of usage? No. But he could get several blocks and the minutes just could fall into rebounds, couple sniper threes, sure. But nothing I would get to with a high level of confidence or high level of equity given up. But I'm getting solid projections on all of the Mavericks per minute. So I wouldn't push back on any Maverick, but if clearly the top two guys projection wise and usage wise, it's going to be Brunson and Hardaway. And on FanDuel, there's going to be a lot of overlap in my lineups between the two. The 7K on DraftKings might push the field back a little bit more, but guys, I don't know that. Like I said, I would pay 8K for Brunson in this split, considering the matchup. So I don't know that 7K is enough to get me out of there. I guess I would say that his per minute isn't as fantastic as it feels like, but still the minutes could be extremely deep here. And also, can somebody verify? I think I read Jason Kidd is out for the Rona, right? So you just might even get flatter minute rotations from an assistant coach, and they just might simplify the process, let them play. So if that I'm not, obviously that's just a guess. I'm sure they have a plan, or Jason Kidd might put, but in the moment when you're out there making live decisions, coaches just react differently for subs and whatnot. So there's a lot going in Jalen Brunson's way tonight. So I'm just gonna be there 100%, right? If he comes in at 80%, I'm just gonna be there at 100. What are you gonna do? Let's get caught up on chat. Clayball's 4K, so questionable. Rudy Gay, so it's questionable. I think Rudy Gay would have a higher floor and probably ceiling if you gave him the same minutes and same expectations for or the same minutes. Clayball is just there, you know what I mean? You taking that into mind, how do you feel about Dejante Murray? I didn't catch your take. I think Dejante without Derek White, he's a Dejante in this split. If you think the minutes could be there, we're worried about the lopsided spread, but Dejante in this split, is a dark horse to lead the slate in fantasy points, right? He has 70 fantasy point potential. I think I got him closer to 50. Dejante, how far up is Dejante? Dejante. Actually, I got him a lot lower than I thought. Let me see. Dejante. No, I got him right at 50 on Fanduel. I guess 46 DK, but he has triple double upside. So I think he's plus minus 10 for the median projection as a top scorer. But I think there is a range of outcome where he could be a top scorer. And he's a little bit cheaper than the other guys, so it doesn't need to be the top scorer. But I really love Dejante. What up, Adam Nickel? Any prize picks tonight? We'll look at prize picks in a minute, maybe after the next game. Then yeah, thoughts on KPJ? I think KPJ is a little bit easier to click on DraftKings, but I think he's fine on both sites. I think the reason I do like him on FanDuel is because he's small forward eligible still, right? I don't really know why he's small forward eligible. He's been their true point guard all year, but he is. Yeah, he's still small forward point guard eligible on DK, and then on FanDuel. So I don't know. It's kind of like Alec Burks, where if Alec Burks was only point guard half the season, I probably wouldn't play him nearly as much as I have played him. I don't know. Usually small forward is a little bit more shallow, so I don't mind getting to him, all things considered. Yeah. Who's playing guard for the Bucks tonight? I wrote down Javonte Smart, but I think Giannis Antetokounmpo will likely play point guard in the traditional sense of bringing the ball up the court. Maybe Chris Middleton, maybe Wesley Matthews. But in terms of facilitation and ball handling at the top of the key, I think we'll see a lot of Giannis doing it. Good luck, everyone. Hit that like button. I appreciate that, Nate. What up? Rudy Gay's at least 2,000 years old. I go Kleba. I don't. I think you're sleeping on Rudy Gay. What? Rudy Gay's been fine. And age is such a dumb way to write someone off. You'll be playing LeBron James tonight, right? I don't know. Trey Burks, love. I against the Rockets, if you built them into some minutes, it's hard to predict who gets minutes past the starting lineup for the bench here. They got Sterling Brown, Josh Green, guys like that. I definitely think per minute Trey Burke could be interesting, but I think in the scheme of this slate, so many games, I probably don't get there unless I saw a quote directly attached to him getting some run. So probably not, but I don't hate where your head's at on that. If you have time, can you break down some of the last two games, Atlanta versus? Nobody ever covers them next to it. Yeah, I got you, Chris. I literally, I think you said this is your first day here. I literally go through every game. Sometimes the West Coast games get screwed based on where I'm at on time, but I go through every game. T-Wolves at the Thunder, next game on the docket. Jack starting five for the T-Wolves: Patrick Beverly, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, Jared Vanderbilt, and Karl Anthony Towns, the Big Cat. Ernie Ladd taking on SGA, Aaron Wiggins, Josh Giddey, Lou Dort, Jeremiah Robinson, Earl. We got 218 total, 5.5 point spread in favor of the visiting Minnesota Timberwolves. We did get Patrick Beverly questionable, right? So if he can't go, you might expect a few things, right? Somebody mentioned Jalen Noel earlier. I think that could happen. I also think probably a little likelier to happen is maybe D'Angelo Russell just starts at point guard and you call up like a Malik Beasley or one of those types in the middle. Let's go for Minnesota. Beverly Q with right groin soreness. So yeah, they could do a couple things. Like I said, they do have McLaughlin and Jalen Noel, guys like that. But Okogie, Layman, McDaniels, Malik Beasley, they could probably fill in as a forward and let D-Russ run point as well. A couple of options here. Guys that stick out, though, price-wise, I think you can make a case individually for D-Russ, Edwards, and Cat. Kind of like the Chicago situation, I typically set a rule in like a player group on Fantasy Cruncher to not allow too much overlap. So like one of three, depending on how big the slate is and what your confidence and risk tolerance is. I think in this case, I probably just want one of the big three in a lineup, or not even like not min, but like at most one, just to kind of diversify ceiling. And then Towns. Towns maybe fall through the cracks here as a guy that's just an incredible spot that no one really gets to. I do think their front court rotation, right? They're a little bit more healthy. But I think Towns, if he can go, he's gonna go. 37 minutes in that last game against this Thunder team, 46 fantasy points. Both teams scored under 100 real points, but the rebounds were there, the shots were there, and he fouled out in 37 minutes. So maybe he gets another minute or two if he doesn't foul out. And the matchup is pretty doggone pure, and he's under 10K. So I do think that you think about the high end centers today, Giannis, a guy like Giannis, Jokic, maybe Cat does get lost in the wayside, and he has every bit of 50, 60 fantasy point potential. And then just thinking about the Thunder all year long, how they've performed against the front court. The Oklahoma City Thunder have been bottom 5 against both center and forward, so or power forward. So not a bad spot by any means for Cat here. And then also when we look at blocks per game allowed, the Thunder are second to the Memphis Grizzlies right now in blocks per game. So maybe even some defensive stocks to be there for Cat, who averages over a block per game as is. So I don't mind. I definitely don't mind the thought of Cat in tournaments, right? I think we might get him at single digit, low teens ownership, maybe even single digit here. And I think there's a ceiling worth trying to get. The same with D-Russ and Edwards, but I think if I had to create a podium, it would probably be Cat 1. And then, I don't know, do we drive away? Do we maybe just run the usage check here on the big three on the court together? So let's put Cat, Russell, and Edwards in the cut. 462 minutes of sample size, 25, 26. Look how dead even these usage rates are. And then Cat's leading them in fantasy points. So it looks like it's a true coin flip between D-Russ and Edwards. And, one game, one might spike and the other. I think the true outcome is that they're both pretty average plays. And then Cat has the best opportunity to be the best play. So that's how I would put the podium. Cat and then coin flip Russ and Vanderbilt. Maybe we take off Beverly in this split just to see if we can increase the assist percentage on a Russell or an Edwards and maybe narrow it down. Cat gets closer to 30. Assist percentage goes to Russell, so he's the point guard in that split. But it's still just Cat for me. And one thing that Russell or Beverly does represent that you guys know, he'll grab some rebounds, maybe a couple more rebounds go to Cat here. And then in that split, Cat actually went to 1.3 fantasy points per minute. So he actually got a boost without Beverly. So the more I talk about it out loud, the more I'm kind of liking Karl-Anthony Towns here. So give me some Cat. Give me some Cat. On the Thunder side, I don't have a ton of interest in much. Lou Dort's back. Josh Giddey's been having some great games every night, just putting up some sick stat line. Usually every night there's some constant to justify a boost, whether Lou Dort be out or SGA be out. But generally, we just know Josh Giddey's active and he's going to get minutes. So I don't hate the thought of him here. He just dropped 43 fantasy points against them last time out. 15, 13, 10 rebounds his last couple games. What a PrizePicks put on a Giddey rebound prop just for the heck of it. 7.5 rebounds. Wow. 7.5 assists, 14 points. So, 14. So we're looking at 15 rebounds and assists plus 14.5 points. That's 30. But just a 34.5 fantasy score, I feel like that doesn't all add up. What do I got for his fantasy score? 39. I guess so. So I'd probably stay away from that. Today in DFS though, 7K 7,600. If you believe in that price point, go it. But again, 7,600 is that far from Chris Middleton that you wouldn't just play Chris Middleton? It's $300, right? That's a stone's throw away. So I really don't see myself getting to the Thunder today. I guess SGA is a little bit more justifiable. Maybe an upgrade in defensive matchup. You take out Patrick Beverly, and 8,500. If he gets to 35 plus minutes, his usage will be heavily involved here. So if we do get Beverly out, there's a couple of boosts for Cat and SGA. maybe SJ has some meat on the bone, but no warm and fuzzies with the Thunder side for me at least. What else you guys got on this one? Is Teague still on the Bucks? I don't know. I think so. Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague. Let's just Google Jeff Teague. What happens? Who's a free agent? No, he's a free agent. Kind of surprised. I haven't seen his name in all these 10 days that are being passed out, right? Gay didn't go through shoot around. Probably going to be Royce. Yeah, it could be. I'm not. I'll tell you this. I'm not as excited, or wouldn't be as excited to play 30 minutes of O'Neal versus Rudy Gay, but Royce O'Neal did just show a little bit of potential in that last game against the Nuggets without Gobert and without Whiteside. So it's whatever. Thoughts on Trey Jones on Fanduel? I think he's fine for a look. I don't remember what his price was. He had drawn some spot starts with Dejante out, so I guess there's a path to minutes for him. But in those starts for Trey Jones, I believe any combo of Lonnie Walker, Keita Bates, Diop, and maybe Brent Forbes, like there was always one or two of those guys out. So maybe with those, if those guys are in, and I think it's not for sure that Lonnie Walker plays, if those guys are in, maybe he wouldn't be involved in, or as involved in the rotation minute-wise as we would want him to be. But if we cleared up, like if we got Lonnie Walker out or something like that, I think we could create a path to deep enough minutes to play him. So those are my thoughts. I don't think Gay is playing. He stayed at the team's hotel during shoot around. So maybe it was a person. I thought I read something personal there. Nwora or Korkmaz. Ooh, that's a good one, Willie. Probably Korkmaz, but that's not a snap call. I just think unless you see Nwora starting, which I don't think he will, Korkmaz starting is a good indication that 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how close that game stays, is in Korkmaz's future. Jordan Nwora might be a little bit more volatile. Trey Jones out. Oh, did that just drop? Let's get caught up on Underdog here. Listed available. Wow, the timing on that, huh? Shout out to Underdog. Trey Jones has entered healthy. The timing on that, huh? That's a good one. Devontae Cook listed as available. Lonnie Walker available. All right, so shout out to Underdog for impeccable timing, I would say. Let's go on to the next game. Denver Nuggets hosting the Sacramento Kings. Project 35 for the Kings. De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, Harrison Barnes, Marvin Bagley, Damian Jones taking on Monte Morris, Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, Jeff Green, maybe, and Nikola Jokic. 226.5 total, 8-point spread in favor of the Denver Nuggets. Jokic, poster boy of this stream. He's a guy I expected to lead my projections in projections from the Department of Redundancy department, just because of how soft the Nuggets have played lately and how bad the Kings are. But I guess Giannis did ultimately jump him based on the Drew Holiday news. So I still don't think that takes away from my interest in Jokic. The projection isn't that big of a gap between Jokic and Giannis. It's only 2 fantasy points. So Jokic is still going to be a staple in my player pool tonight. I'm going to have deep exposure on him. And even though it's an 8-point spread here in favor of the Nuggets, we really haven't seen powerhouse play from the Nuggets, and Jokic has dropped some monster stat lines while taking an L. Even saw that against Utah. Utah coming in with no Rudy Gobert, no Hassan Whiteside, and they still couldn't get the job done. And that gave them 37 minutes, so 35 minutes against Dallas. So if you're going to get a game that stays closer than not, looks like the expectation for Jokic should be 35 minutes and go from there. And in 35 minutes, we know his per minute production is nuts, and I would probably wager a guess to say that not that it's a hit no matter what, but I would say Monte Morris on the court is probably a boost for Jokic versus Facu Campazzo being on the court. So yeah, I'm very interested in Jokic tonight. I think he has one of the stronger odds. If we had to make odds on guys to lead the slate in fantasy points tonight, he has one of the more likelier paths to 70 plus fantasy points, and the Kings are certainly very, very porous when it comes to defense overall, especially against centers and especially against that front court. So one of my favorite stats to point out from the Kings all year is they allow the most points in the paint by a pretty decent margin. And then just defensively, their efficiency is the fourth worst in all of basketball. Yeah, there's a couple of COVID stretches for the league that those numbers have some asterisks next to them, but the Kings are just a bad defense. So this is a really big upside spot for Jokic. They did get, looks like Jeff Green could be back. Aaron Gordon had a Q tag on him. Let me double check the status on him. Could just be a 1-to-1 trade-off. Gordon to Jeff Green. Bones Highland's probable. Aaron Gordon's probable. Jeff Green's questionable. Jeff Green's dealing with. And we saw Peter Corneli was out. Jeff Green's health is questionable for, I guess, conditioning. So none of the supplementary nuggets really matter to me in terms of Jokic interest. So Jokic is a play no matter what. But if you start getting a couple guys dropping, I think Will Barton would elevate an expectation for me. Instant pushback at his price point, really on both sides. Not too far from a Jalen. It's more than Jalen Brunson on Fanduel. Not too far from him. Tim Hardaway on DraftKings, but I don't hate the idea of him in a player pool. If we want to run back some of these Kings here, you're flipping coins with Fox and Halliburton. Both guys have shown a little bit of potential at their price point today. I like to sell out for true ceiling here, and Aaron Gordon doesn't get the credit that maybe he deserves, but he's a pretty solid. They like to sick him on a lot of guards, and he likes to defend guards. And he has a decent knack for holding some guys down. But Fox, last couple games, 20-plus real points, 24, 30, and 30. Last two games, two of the more softer matchups in terms of scoring guards succeeding. Atlanta Hawks, even though that was without Trae Young, and then the Lakers. So maybe we suppress our expectations a little bit. But I do think Halliburton and Fox would make my player pool. And I think my approach with these two is to, at these prices, not allow both of them in the same lineup. So I'll probably put them both in a player group on Fantasy Crutcher and at most one. You know what I mean? And that's it. How many games we got? We got 2 games left. We're vibing on time here. So one look at chat. Then we'll do a PrizePicks sweep here. We got a lot of noties. Then we'll do a PrizePicks sweep, right? It was personal reasons for Gabe didn't go through. I thought I read that. Only Gabe's playing. All right. Lonnie from Philly. Lonnie Walker really from Philadelphia? That's fun. Lonnie Walker, I'm playing. I've had him early. I want to double check that. Not that I care about narratives, but that's interesting. Hometown, Reading, Pennsylvania. All right, maybe he's got some friends and family in the mix. That's the Lonnie Walker train. Chugga chugga. Is Zubiki gonna outscore Whiteside? Maybe. Do you prefer Trae or Murray? Ooh, I think if Trae plays, I think, in the bright lights of the Crypto Center against LeBron and Westbrook, it's him or nothing. But Dejante is probably the better floor play. And I guess if it's probably Trae, but Dejante is, I guess you can't play Trae with confidence. And if you do play Trae and he doesn't suit up tonight, you lose out on a lot. So I don't know. In short entry, I'd probably lean Dejante. If mass entry, I'd probably lean Trae. Although maybe we'll have to look at ownership projections. Feels like Trae might be the sexier name for the world to click. Anyway, let's do a drop. PrizePicks.com, man. They are one of our presenting sponsors. If you guys haven't checked them out yet and you want a way to support the stream, the channel, sign up for PrizePicks. Use code Gundacker when you do it. And if you deposit, they will match your first deposit up to $100. So essentially doubles your first deposit. So if you drop $20 on them, they'll make it $40. Instant play ability. No playthrough, no slow drip, none of that nonsense. You get access to that credit instantly, and you can start firing off some entries on PrizePicks. And we're starting to get to a really juicy time of year where there's a lot of different sports on the board. We mentioned PGA's back. NASCAR's a month away. We got a little bit more NFL, some meaningful NFL next week. A lot of basketball, college basketball sports as well. And they also offer esports and the like. So I definitely recommend you guys check it out. It's a great way to simplify some of these bigger slates that are a little bit more of a headache to follow for DFS, or guys that we feel like are overpriced on DraftKings. You might find a little bit more of an exploitable line on a site like PrizePicks. So check them out. Like I said, good way to support the stream, support the site. Sign up using my code. They help keep this stream going every day for free. And if we look at PrizePicks, chat, you guys got some favorite plays? My favorite thing to do when I load up PrizePicks, immediately I go to Fantasy Score. But when you get some news, like news just came out about Trey Jones, not that he was like an impact play, but it does open up some minutes. You can just type the team in the search bar now and kind of see what's on the board and react quickly. So one of the things that is here, there's a lot of Dejante Murray stuff. He's got a fantasy score of 46. I almost always bet the fantasy score over for Dejante all year. There was a while where he was stuck at 38 forever. I got him at 50, so I got a little bit of a 4 or 5 point gap here. Without Derek White, man, I'd probably be a sucker for that one as well. Give me 46 over. They don't give us Lonnie Walker. Kata Bates D up at 9.5 points. I don't mind that look either. If he's in the starting lineup, you guys saw his potential in that Lakers game where he just started chucking. You take out Derek White. I think he could pick up some shit. You take out Keldon Johnson, by the way. That's not to be ignored. Keldon Johnson had not been scoring a lot for our sake. So if you weren't playing him, you might miss out on the fact that he'd have been shooting 20% for a big stretch, right? 3 for 13, 4 for 18. So that's another 10 to 20 shots being removed from the lineup. So I do think Kata Bates D up over 9.5 is a little bit interesting. So something I'm keeping an eye on there. Other big discrepancies in fantasy points. What do they got Jalen Brunson at? I'm sure a lot. They got him at 39.5 fantasy points. And I think that's about what I'm looking at. Brunson, I got him at 43. So not a giant gap there. You guys got some sweet fantasy picks for PrizePicks? Brunson over 20.5 real points. Ooh, that's interesting. So let's just look. Jalen Brunson DKP by game log without. Let's just put without Luka Doncic last 10 games, and then we'll keep in mind it's the Houston Rockets defense. So without Luka last 10 games, 23 real points, 25. There's a 14 at Portland. Not what you want. 27, 19 at Milwaukee, 28. Yeah, I think over 20.5 is a really strong look against the Rockets. That's a good call out. Howard at 3.5 though on Fanduel. I saw the Dejante Murray free throw prop at 1.5. Is he really not drawing fouls like that? That's crazy. Yeah, he's not getting to the stripe, and he's still killing it. Shout out to Dejante, bro. If he found out how to hack free throws like a Harden or something like that, Dejante be out here dropping 80 every night. Phil Clarkson feeling like Jordan Poole. Clarkson's definitely got 20 plus shot attempts coming his way if he's playing full strength, right? Whether or not he's making them, he can go full Buddy Hield. But I do like Clarkson a little bit more than those other ones. Brunson real life points prop is more appealing. I agree with that, Josh. That's a good call out. Bobby Portis over fantasy points is J. Cole. Jermaine Cole. Did you guys listen to that Weekend album? I skimmed through it this morning before bed. Nothing stuck out to me. I thought the Jim Carrey collab was really random. But nothing hit me like a banger. But maybe sometimes albums don't get me the first time and they grow on me. So maybe that'll grow on me. Bobby Portis at 31.5 fantasy points. Yeah, I think I have him for way over that, actually. I have him at 39, so I get almost a 9-point gap. But that's a good call out, Jay. All right, so there's a couple picks there. If you guys want to tail some of those, go to prizepicks.com, get signed up. Use code GUNDACKER, get that deposit bonus. And like I said, when you guys sign up, they show me some love, and that helps these streams keep coming every weekday for free. And it's just a circle of love. Bryn Forbes baby narrative. Right. Or Bryn Forbes baby. Yeah. Got me thinking of fading Clarkson now. Oh no. Are we overthinking? That can be a problem. Atlanta Hawks at the Los Angeles Lakers. Projects 35 for the Hawks. Trae Young, Bogdanovich, Cam Reddish, Jr., John Collins, Clint Capella taking on Russell Westbrook, Malik Monk, Avery Bradley, Trevor Ariza, maybe LeBron James. I saw Stanley Johnson was coming back, so I don't know what they got planned there. Maybe get a weird lineup with like Melo. But if they keep staying small here, I think this is actually a line. If you get a healthy Collins and Clint Capella, I do think this could be one of those times where the Lakers opt to go big. And we saw Dwight Howard get some run that last game. I think it was thanks to some foul trouble. But it certainly feels like you could throw Dwight Howard at Clint Capella over LeBron a little bit more often. So don't be stunned if we get a big lineup from the Lakers tonight. Matchup wise and price wise, if Trae Young can go, he's got upside. Capella and Collins. With Collins back in the mix, it feels like it could degrade Capella's per minute production and his upside. So just out of curiosity to put an actual number on that, let's put Trae Young, Capella on, John Collins off, and see what the official numbers are in terms of per minute. Capella goes from 1.3 fantasy points per minute, and Trae Young's at 1.5. Trae Young's at a 38% usage rate in that split. So now we put Collins back on the floor for these two. And see if Capella goes down closer to 1. Capella goes to 1.15. Trae Young's still fine at 1.42, but it looks like there is a little bit of a hit for Capella's potential per minute production. I still don't think I would avoid him at all costs, but I do feel like this game has a couple different flows that could happen. If the Lakers take a lead and they're running small, the Hawks might have to respond small, and you can use John Collins, Danilo Gallinari, guys like that. So there are a couple different wavelengths for this game to live on. Like I said, I think I would see the Dwight Howard lineup come out, but ultimately keep in mind that we're not exactly sure who is playing for the Hawks. We know Trae Young is questionable, John Collins, guys like that. So this lineup also has a propensity to be a little bit different than what we're looking at now. And you also might see Kevin Huerter start instead of Reddish. They kind of swapped last game with Trae Young out. So a couple different ways for this game to land and fall. Bogdanovich also on the Q tag here. Just price-wise, if they can go, Trae Young's definitely somebody that can top the slate in fantasy points. I think risk-reward, the ceiling on him is worth taking a stab at, but at that price point, you guys mentioned Dejante Murray, and we got a couple other studs on the slate as well that 10K can be a down payment on, James Harden, guys like that. So I might lean the latter if news becomes an issue. On the Lakers side, LeBron James is 11.2 on FanDuel, 11.6. Right now I got him as a top 3 projected fantasy scorer on the slate. So he's absolutely in the pool, probably a tier 3 to a tier 2. And then Westbrook at 10.1K on DraftKings. I get it. He's not been a 10K player, but 8,600 on FanDuel, man. They're going to get me in trouble because I love point guards against the Atlanta Hawks, and this could be one of those spots where 40 plus fantasy points could be in the books for Russell Westbrook here. But I completely understand not getting to 10K Westbrook. I would even understand not getting to 8K Westbrook. I'm a little bit more of a Westbrook sucker than most here. I just feel like 8K gives me so much of a potential ceiling. I'm getting for about 50 fantasy points on FanDuel right now, and it's a 230 total. So I just kind of dig in Westbrook a little bit more than maybe I should. But such a soft price on FanDuel that I just don't know that I get away from that. So what are you going to do? Taking Kevin Huerter? I can get with that. Gray Area by 2 Chainz goes hard. I have to double check that. You guys tweet at me the ones that are the bangers. There was a lot of songs to go through. But they all landed together. Can you go over the Lakers versus Hawks, please? I'm doing it, Isaac. I'm doing it. We got one game left on the docket. Chat, right after the stream, I'm going to be in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP Discord. Looks a little something like this. You can get access to this by getting behind that paywall at RunDFS.com. And when you get in here, right here on the left side, you see the NBA chat. You click on that. Boom, we're in here. And there's probably going to be 10, 20 cats in there grinding, looking for PrizePicks plays, looking for news, talking some game theory, ownership, lineup construction, all that good stuff. MJ versus LeBron debates. You never know what you're going to get in there. But if you guys want to be part of that, I'll be in there. I'm in there every day before lock for the main slate. Go to rundfs.com, get yourself a sub. And today's the last day for the year pass. If you use coupon code $50, $50 BUCKS, you can get this year pass to $4.90. $5.99, and then once you consider the $150 voucher to Fantasy Cruncher, that comes down to less than $40 a month. So check that out. We are at 99 likes, 200 cats hanging out. I don't think we're getting a record of 160 today, but I appreciate the likes without even having to mention likes. You guys are awesome. If you haven't hit that like button or that sub button, you like what you hear, you like what you see, you want to be back. I will be back on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, and then tomorrow morning I'll be with EMAC on the Osmo channel in the morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll take a first look at tomorrow's slate. So before we get out of here, we got one more game. Cavs at the Portland Trailblazers. Project starting five for the Cavs. Darius Garland, Lamar Stevens, Larry Markkinen, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen taking on Anthony Simons, Norman Powell, Nas Little, you can hate me now, Robert Covington, Yusuf Nurkic. We got Zeller, questionable, Lillard, McCollum down, Larry Nance out. Are we for sure on this one today? Larry Nance was doubtful last game and then ended up playing. It says MRI that revealed no significant damage. Blah, 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 blah. All right, so we're getting Larry Nance out. All right, cool. 216 total. So the Cavs on a West Coast game does kind of hamper some of the usual expectations from these West Coast games, especially with the Blazers lately. Cavs will roll into there with a slower pace and a stronger defense. Darius Garland back in the cut as well. Garland's at AK on FanDuel. And man, what's his price fix? Because usually he gets a decent price. He's at 38. That's a maybe for me. I have him at 44, so I get a little bit of gap there. Garland really doesn't get the love that maybe he deserves this season, and especially without Ricky Rubio. And you soften the matchup with like a Blazers guard defense, man, Garland might just be one of those ultra late night hammers at single digit ownership. So let's just, for the heck of it, let's take Sexton off. Let's take Rubio off and put Garland back in the mix. You gave him a couple guys to lob to too. 429 minutes of sample size. Garland at 28% usage rate, a 42% assist rate, just a 1.9 fantasy point per minute. But yeah, maybe there's some world for Garland to succeed, especially at that price point. So I don't mind looking at Garland. 10 assists, 8 assists, took 10 threes last game, 20 plus shot attempts against Memphis. Man, Darius Garland on FanDuel is kind of sticking out to me. I know I mentioned Russell Westbrook, but AK Darius Garland, I mean, that's something I can maybe get to. Jared Allen, Evan Mobley in the front court here for the Cavs. I think at their price points, they're both very fine plays. I love Allen being power forward eligible. The minutes should be really, really deep for him as well. No warm and fuzzies here. And then 7+ K Kevin Love, man. Again, I think the price is correct, and I don't need to make him a priority, but 40+ fantasy points is not outside the realm of possibility, although I don't think I'm going to... I just got a notice that Aaron Rodgers is starting this week, so now I got to play with starting or sitting Aaron Rodgers in my season-long championship. I don't think I get to Kevin Love on this slate, but you know, even with Jared Allen back and Mobley back, thought maybe his minutes would go back closer to 20. Still sitting at 29, 30 minutes, and the shot volume is there. When he's on the court, he is getting involved, and I don't know. Maybe he's more of a late slate showdown player or something like that. But at 7.4, 7.6K, I need 40+ fantasy points. I see Rondo's in the mix active. They traded for him. Conditioning is probable. I think the reasonable expectation is for Rondo to not be an impact player on night one. Maybe build his wind up. Looks like what that blurb kind of suggested. So I'm leaning on Garland still. On the Blazers side, Anthony Simons and Norman Powell kind of priced to levels of uncomfort on FanDuel, 7,500, 6,200 on DK. You can maybe make a case for Simons. Like I said, we're amping up the defensive difficulty here for the Blazers against this Cavs team. No one really stands out as a super smash play. Nurkic probably has a little bit of room of a little bit meat on the bone at 6K on Fanduel. You can see 40 fantasy points there, but no priority clicks for me on the Blazers. Without Larry Nance, I think you can justify Nas Little a little bit more. Robert Covington on DK maybe sneaks into a solid game here and there, but generally, I think this is a spot where I'm pretty down on this game as the hammer options, low total, low pace. My favorite play, points per dollar, is going to be Garland on FanDuel. So that's what I got on that game. You guys got any secrets when it comes to that one? If not, then yeah, I guess if you guys have any closing thoughts or questions, comments, concerns, throw them at me, and I'll try and knock out a few of them. Otherwise, in a couple of minutes, I got to get in that Discord chat. So, if you're on Twitter, twitter.com/Gundecker. Like I said, if you're not subscribed to the channel, we're trying to get to 6K subs. We actually got 50 new subs this week. And on this stream, we got 10 new subs. So we might get to 6K subscribers by the end of this month, which would be way faster than projected, which is wild. Next week, like I said, though, back on the channel at 3 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow morning, the Osmo channel. But check out this schedule for next week, just to look ahead. On Monday, we're going to have a 7-game slate, Tuesday 6 game, Wednesday 9 game, Thursday 5 game, Friday 9 games. So solid slate every day. The following week, it gets weird. So first of all, Sunday is like a 4-game all-day slate because on a Martin Luther King Jr. Day, they do the all-day slate. I think we could get a 5-game main out of what I was looking at, but that slate starts all day. So I don't know how to serve content for that day. We'll see. And then Tuesday, there's only 2 games. Wednesday, every team in the league plays, essentially. Thursday's another small 3-gamer. Friday's 11 games, and then Saturday's 3 games. So next week, maybe we enjoy that as much as we can. If you guys are looking for a hole to pencil into a schedule and take a week off to recharge, maybe the following week is that week because there's not really a groove to get into. And from a content standpoint, like I don't know how to serve the MLK slate. I don't know that it's even like 2 game. We're going to do a stream for 2 game. I don't know. We'll definitely do a stream for the 13 game. Thursday game, 3 game. You know what I'm saying? Like that's gonna be a weird week to serve. So I'm gonna do my best. You guys maybe let me know what you guys want there. I thought I was screen sharing, but I wasn't. What do we got, chat, before we get out of here? Mobley and Markkanen Howard. This is my first NBA lineup in 2 years. I have not been reading about NBA since I was not able to play DFS. If you haven't played NBA DFS in 2 years, just know that the Cavs are a good defense and a good team. So that total is probably a little bit lower than you might expect from years past, and that's probably not the first game you want to look at. But I appreciate that. Welcome back, Owen. Favorite player not named Whiteside at 3,900 on DraftKings. Let me pull up my projections here. DK value 3,900 or below. Dwight Powell's coming in sneaky. 39 is kind of cutting it. I don't really have a lot at 39. Yeah, Dwight Powell, he might get lost in the sauce. Maybe, yeah, because of the Rockets without Porzingis, without Doncic. Might just let him go. Looking at some of these other guys, no one's standing out here. So maybe Dwight Powell, but that's an ugly name, right? An ugly name to click. Anyway, chat, I appreciate you guys spending a little bit of my day to be part of your day. I will be back Monday. Wake up in the morning, grab some coffee. Let's talk it up with EMAC. But I'm going into the RunDFS.com NBA VIP Discord. If you guys want to come hang out, go to RunDFS.com. Get yourself a week pass, man. I appreciate you guys so much. Good luck. God bless. And go win some money. All of it. All of it.